a few times and the microphone's broke. So my luck is we go and hang out with people, and then it's usually the coolest people, so it would happen on this one. And something would break. And then I'm sat here really awkwardly like, oh, well. So team, this is, wow, do you need an introduction?
Hi, Matt Fraser.
One of the fittest men in the world. I would say the fittest man in the world. Last 3 years, and then 2 years before that you were second.
Yep.
And then the year before that you went to regionals, and that was only your second year of CrossFit.
No, my first year. My first year at regionals, I was 6 months into CrossFit. And that was I showed up to a CrossFit gym 6 months before.
Do you think you're naturally just super fit? Because, you know, like for some people, like for myself, I've been grinding for like 2 or 3 years, and like a couple of others I know have been grinding for 2 or 3 years. You're like 6 months in and you were just like, boom.
Well, so like, I think I was more successful than most right off the bat because I came into CrossFit. I had a 300-pound snatch and a 365 clean and jerk. So like most guys who are in CrossFit, you know, they have had to work many years to get those lifts, especially the snatch, you know.
Yeah.
So it was like my first day in the gym, I was lifting big numbers. My cardio was embarrassing. So like that first year at regionals, like I won the overhead squat. I got the world record in the overhead squat event, and then it was a back-to-back event with 30 burpee muscle ups.
Yeah.
And I think I came in like 5 seconds under the time cap. Just like crawled to the finish line.
Nice.
So it was like I was super strong, but zero cardio. So,
right, first one's just going to be a bit of fun. Zombie apocalypse is coming. You have to have a team of 3 guys. You can pick anyone in the world.
Games athletes?
Anyone.
Anyone.
If you want The Rock to come with you, I'd pick The Rock. Probably David Beckham as well, because I reckon he'd have a good time.
Well, I don't know. I don't know enough famous people or anything like that, and I don't know enough badasses on a first name basis. So I'll just go off games athletes. From what I can think of, Josh Bridges.
Yeah, you two with guns and stuff.
Alex Anderson.
Yeah.
Alex Anderson is a savage. He stopped posting so much of it, but he's a badass. Sammy, who would I take for the third?
I reckon you'd go full Rambo. I reckon we'd turn around and Fraser would be like, headband on.
I try to turn it into a fun time. Like, you know, we're in a shitty situation, let's have a good time.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a third for fun, you and Pat have fun.
Yeah.
Like if you're looking
Bring
for
Vellner along for some jokes.
Yeah.
Exactly. 2 badasses and a good time.
What's your most used emoji? Mine is the laughing face.
Well, so there's 2 situations. Like the one, so I hardly ever use emojis, but 99% of the time I do, it's with Sammy. So it's either like the kissy face or the hard eyes. But to everyone else, the rare time I use emoji, it's probably the one that's like, ugh. Because I'm usually trying to explain an awkward situation that I got myself into, and I'm like, ugh. Hey, O'Keefe, can you fix this?
What was the most awkward situation you got yourself into recently? I feel like we need to sit Sammy in the middle here.
No.
Because he just looks at you with most questions. He's like,
because I have the memory of a goldfish.
He does,
It's terrible. So like anytime I get asked a question, I'm just like, it's either Sammy. When I'm at a CrossFit event, I'm either with Sammy or O'Keefe, and I have the worst memory and no concept of a timeline. And so anytime someone's like, "Oh, where were you 3 months ago?" Sammy, where was I 3 months ago?
Well, that was like this
Like
morning.
us.
I'm like, let's go for coffee. Well, let's go to Whole Foods for breakfast. Like, it's a really good coffee shop. We can meet there and we'll just walk over. It's real close. So we get there. He gets his coffee and he sees a food that he wants there, so he gets it. And I'm like, okay, you good? You want to like walk over to Whole Foods? He's like, we're going to Whole Foods? And I'm like, yes, we're going to Whole Foods.
what's the worst haircut you've ever had? Have you had a bad haircut? Sammy, do you know?
So,
I gave it to him.
Really?
well, so I have a couple fun ones. When I was really young, so growing up, like my dad just always shaved my head, and we were like going to Hampton Beach. Out, I'm probably like 10 years old, give or take, and I was like, Dad, I want a mohawk, and he's like, all right, kid. So like shaves me a mohawk, and then we go to Hampton Beach for the day, and it was like the hottest day of the year. All the kids get like blistered sunburns, awful. The next day is the first day of school for the semester, and my mom's like, you can't have a mohawk, or like you should shave it for a first impression with the teachers. So we shave the mohawk off, and it's blister sunburn all on the sides, and then just this white strip down that didn't get sunburned. So that was a little bit awkward. Was it 2 years ago? Like Sam was trying to learn how to like cut fades, and so like instead of just having a shaved head, like I have the clippers, Sammy cuts it, and so like we're trying to like put some shape to the hair, and so the fade was great, but like the long hair on top was like shifted to the side a little bit. It was a little bit off center, and like a whole day went by like until like she saw me from a distance and was like, Matt, your hair's not even, I need to fix it. And I was like, no, like I can't see it, so why do I care what it looks like?
Yeah.
And she was like, no, my name is on that, we need to fix it.
I would also say it wasn't the worst haircut, but it was the coolest. Remember those home videos? Like,
Oh my
and you all
God.
had bowl cut mullets with rat tails
No.
and racing stripes on them.
Yeah, so-
like,
so-
there was just so much going on.
So we had a bowl cut, racing stripes, and rat tails. There was probably 10 of us. Like it was super small town, and so like any kid that's within 4 years of each other, we all hung out. And
It's remarkable what you think's cool when you're growing up.
Oh,
I used to straighten my fringe, just my fringe, nothing else. Like
that's
straighten
brutal.
across. Yeah, terrible.
yeah, and so I think it was like one kid had like my dad was a stay-at-home dad, so it was like, Dad, I want racing stripes, and he's like, all right, cool, let's do it. And he would just like kind of like, what do you care what a 5-year-old's haircut looks like? He would just, yeah, if you want it, yeah, I'll cut it into your head. And then like one kid had a rat tail, so all the kids had rat tails.
Yeah.
And then one kid had racing stripes, so we're watching this old home video, and like we're down on our dock, and there had to be like 8 or 10 kids, and we're all running around in our bathing suits, and it's like I'm like, oh my God, we all have bowl cuts and racing stripes. Like this is embarrassing. And then something happened behind us, and we all turned, and just these like glorious rat tails hanging down. And I was like, oh no.
I just model my haircuts off Justin Bieber, didn't I, Jazz, for a while? I was like, Justin Bieber's got it, I'm gonna have it.
It wasn't even that long ago. That
No,
was when we got
that was not
together.
like, yeah, that was embarrassingly not long
Oh,
ago.
He was like, I want to look like Bieber. I was like, oh God.
Yeah, oh God.
That's what you fell in love with, huh?
Anyway, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
Terrible.
I just became more
She set
tolerant.
herself up.
Yeah.
I didn't actually.
So basically she lowered her standards and then met you.
Yeah. So do you listen to Justin Bieber?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
No.
Matt couldn't tell you one of his songs.
You couldn't even
No,
name one.
so there's been situations on where like a song's playing and I'm like, oh, this is kind of catchy. And she's like, oh, this is Bieber. And I'm like, oh, I had no idea. Okay.
What about like Britney Spears?
I can,
Post Malone.
yeah.
Yeah, nice. What's your go-to song? We heard is it Kip Moore?
Yeah, so, yeah, there's a couple Kit Moore songs that are, like, get me pretty amped up. There's a couple Post Malone songs that get me fired up.
What is your top 5 playlist in the gym?
No, so I don't have any playlists. I literally just, like, go into my library and hit shuffle. So it'll go from, like, some, like, very aggressive rap immediately into, like, Travis Tritt, like, lovey-dovey country song.
Yeah.
And it'll just shuffle through. Yeah.
I'm a big
Zero
fan of
Chill.
Congratulations by Post Malone. That one just gets me amped. I'm like, I'm gonna make it. And then
Yeah, that's Sammy and I. That's one of our driving songs, and
Yeah.
we're both just wailing away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you that couple that like pull up at a light and then like people will look left and you two are just rocking out?
Oh,
100%.
Yeah.
100% of the time.
Nice. And I'm a Luke Combs fan as well. I'm a big fan of Luke Combs. Luke Combs is one of
Who it
them.
is?
You don't know who Luke Combs is?
You would know some of his music.
Yeah, you'd love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible. What was your first car?
My first car was a Chevy Blazer. What an awful little rig that was. It was basically a stereo on wheels. I went through like 2 or 3 transmissions on that thing. Oh, it was awful, and it got like 9 miles to the gallon. It was terrible.
In the UK, you would be broke. on
Yeah.
9 miles to the gallon.
Oh, I was a high school student with no job. I was very broke.
So, like, where did hard work pays off come from? You know, like it's everywhere. You know, like I see it on Instagram all the time, and it's everyone in the CrossFit world.
So
it's hard work paying off.
So it started. I think it was after the 2015 games, and you know, so getting those results from that year's games, you know, it made me do a lot of just soul searching, self-analyzing.
It was on one of the Road to the Games episodes, or there was some series. Did you do a whole series? It was a whole series on YouTube, wasn't it? And you were saying that second place medal was a kick in the teeth.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it was. You know, I don't think I showed up to the gym for like 3 months afterwards. You know, there's a lot of questions of like, okay, what am I going to change this year? Do I even want to do it this year? You know, I'm literally pushing all the chips in again to possibly have the same results. You know, it was a very real possibility at that point that I may do this every year and never get first place. I may always be the number one loser.
That honestly surprises me, because for me, looking from outside in, I always see Matt Fraser as the guy that believed he was going to do it from the off. Like, I look at your mindset when you go into workouts, when you're attacking stuff. I'm like, that's what I think separates you from other people from looking in. I'm like, his mindset takes him to this other level ahead of others.
I think there is some truth to that now.
Yeah. But at that time, you were like,
going into 2015, it was very much like, I'm so new to this. My first year, I got second place, and first place is retiring.
Yeah.
So I was just resting on my laurels. I was like, oh, I got this thing in the bag, you know? And then, so I didn't do anything correctly the entire year, and then I showed up and I got the results I deserved.
Yeah.
And one thing I always do when I'm stressed or upset or basically anything, I make lists.
Yeah.
I'll take out a notepad, whether it's, I do it every morning. I'll make a to-do list of everything I want to get done that day. And sometimes, you know, if something just isn't going my way, I just write a whole list, and it's basically writing out the things I have control over and how do I take control of them. And then if it's something that I don't have control over, it doesn't make the list, and I have to just accept whatever happens. So what it was just a bunch of stuff that was going through my head of, you know...
Because that list is like accomplishments, you know? Like, it's simple things I find some days that keep people motivated.
Yeah. I'm trying to like, what would be the theme of that list that I wrote out?
It was more like on the type of athlete you want to be.
Yeah. So it was just stuff that was athlete related. Anyways, so it was just an 8x11 sheet of paper with chicken scratch handwriting, and I just like taped it up next to the bed. So, and I would force every morning as soon as I would sit up, I would read it. And so one year for Christmas, Sammy got it. She went to one of my friends that does printing, and she got it made into like about that size. And it was like in a cool font and everything, but it was all these lines that I read to myself every morning. And the one that's in the biggest, boldest print was hard work pays off. And so that's where it started.
That's freaking cool.
Read it every morning, and yeah.
It's kind of like mental rehearsal, I guess. You know, like every day, just doing those little things that you can just follow.
I mean, it was.
It's not making it too complicated and too big.
It was super simple stuff that I wrote down. You know, stuff like after the 2015 games, you know, there was a lot of just typical social media comments of, you know, like I just fell off a rope from 20 feet up. So a lot of people have nice things to say about that. And so, you know, it was just a reminder to myself of, what do I care what some stranger thinks of me? Yeah. No, I care what Sammy thinks of me. I care about what my family thinks of me. I care about like my close network. And so it was, you know, I think the line on there was something along the lines of like, who gives a fuck what random people think? Like, take care of the people that are close to you, and they'll take care of you. So just lines like that. Just quick reminder.
I think from us and on YouTube, and especially in sport, if you listen to what everyone else is saying, it can sometimes like impact you massively. Like I've had times where I've got comments on YouTube videos, and like you have 1,000 good comments and one bad one, and if you let that affect you, you're like, that's it.
Yeah.
I get really annoyed. We're lucky we don't get it that often, but I'm just like, because I'm not really like a mean person, and I'm just like, well, yeah, but why are they being mean? Like, why have they taken the energy to say that?
But people, this is what...
Really
I mean, I some of the stuff I see, and the one thing that helped me a bunch with, you know, it was one of those things that like it ate up so much mental space, and so I had to like sit down and Like I probably made a list about it, and thinking about like why are people making these comments. I had to, because it's something that's so foreign to me. The thought has never crossed my mind of, oh, I'm gonna say something mean, you know?
Yeah.
And then I thought of one thing, and then it's never bugged me since. Was I have never once seen a bad comment, gone into their profile, and thought, wow, this looks like a really successful person.
Yeah. Mental strength. I look at you now, and when I see you in especially the 2017 and 2018 season, I'm like, you go out there believing you're unbeatable. That's what it looks like for a lot of people out there. And it's not like I don't see it as in an arrogant way, and I don't think many others see it in an arrogant way. We just see that you put in that hard work pays off, and that you're there to do a job.
See,
do you doubt yourself? Do you ever go into
so
the games
I understand the image that's getting portrayed and what people see. I'm in the back thinking the exact opposite. I'm in the back thinking I'm going to lose this event. Everyone here is more capable than me. Everyone here is better than me. They're gonna, like, they are all going to beat me. And so then I look at it of, okay, what do I have control over? And that's the effort that I'm going to put into this, my execution on the event, and realizing like, okay, I have the choice to be willing to die to win this event. So I'm going into it concerned about what no one else is doing, because I'm like, they're going to beat me. They're all going to win regardless. I can only control what I'm going to do. Yeah. And so then I go into it literally just focused on me and the pain and effort I'm willing to put in to do my best performance.
That's so for me. Sports psychology is like one of the main things. Like I doubt myself. You know, like when we go as a team of 3 here, I'm thinking, Mikey's better than me. Kevin's better than me. And then we get on the floor and we're all killing it.
You're all in it and killing it. Yeah.
But beforehand, it's like trying to get control of those thoughts. It's like it must, especially when, you know, like if you were like 15th or 16th of the games and you were like in the middle of the pack, it's kind of like, okay, but you're Matt Fraser. The last 3 years, you've won the CrossFit Games. So there's a lot of people sat out there going, Matt Fraser's going to win this event. CrossFit Games, Matt Fraser, he won last year by over 100 points. How do you deal with that? Do you even think about the expectation, or do you just go out there and just go, this is my job?
So I deal with my self-expectation. But being here in a crowd like at Wodapalooza, this is so crazy to me. Because day in and day out, I see Sammy.
Yeah. Hey.
The only other person I see besides that on a regular basis is O'Keefe. And I'm not dropping into regular gyms and like seeing the reaction or hearing people's opinions on other things. For the most part, when I'm in season, I pay very little attention to social media. So I'm literally in my own little bubble.
Yeah.
And so I don't hear or see anything else. I'm putting blinders on for 6-8 months. And so like coming to Wodapalooza and like meeting other people and like when they want to take, I'm like, it's almost foreign to me because I just don't put myself in that situation so often. And you know,
so because you're not really surrounded by it and you're not engulfed by the social media that's on your phone and things like that, you kind of just go to the games as Matt Fraser. You put in the work and you're just like, I'm just gonna do me.
Yeah, I mean the self expectations I put on myself, it's that's heavy.
Yeah.
You know.
And when did that come about? Because obviously you did your first season, you went to regionals, then second season you came second at the games. Was it then that you were like, okay, I can do it here, or was it after regionals you were like?
I think it was going into the 2016 season. I started working with Bergeron closely. 2015 I worked with him, but I was in Vermont and very rarely went there and listened to some of the stuff he had to say. Didn't listen to most, and 2015 season ended the way it did. And then, so going into the 2016 season, a lot of the stuff that I thought he was saying that was just cliche or whatever, I had to realize I tried doing it my way and it didn't work.
Yeah.
And I was willing to do anything and everything the proper way. And so I literally did everything he said, even when I thought it was silly, even when I thought it was goofy, I just did what he said to do.
Here's a question. You put out hard work pays off all the time. People follow that like religiously. What's the best piece of advice that you've been given by someone else? The one thing that sticks in your head and you're just like, that changed something for me.
I can give you a laundry list of stuff. It was funny because I remember this one because I was talking about it yesterday. So there's one guy that works for Concept 2. So he's at every competition, Greg. And so he goes to my gym in Vermont, Champlain Valley. And so he's into motorcycles. He knows I am. So he's telling me all about, he's like, oh man, like I'm buying a pit bike. It's a miniature motorcycle. I
know nothing about bikes.
So they're originally intended for like little kids, or 50cc. But they build up the suspension and everything so that adults can ride them.
Nice.
So it's like...
I drove a moped in Bali, and that was my first time ever, and I walked into the shop and they were like, have you ever driven before? And I was like, no. Sat on and just went for it.
Yeah.
Nearly went in a ditch, but that's about all of my riding experience.
So like pit bikes are like... They're fun. They're goofy, you know?
Yeah.
So Greg is... I think he's 49 now. So this is a couple years ago. And he's like telling me like, oh, I'm going to build a pit bike track in my front yard. And like, I'm going to race them. I'm going to have my friends over with their pit bikes. And we're all going to race. And I was like, Craig, you're a grown ass man. You're riding a miniature dirt bike? Like, go get a real dirt bike.
Yeah.
Like, you're an adult, man. And he's like, but pit bikes are fun. And I was like, but everyone's going to laugh at you. And he was just like, man, the older I get, the more I realize it doesn't matter what anyone thinks.
Yeah.
It's as long as I'm having a good time.
Yeah.
And for some reason, that simple conversation just flipped a switch. I was just like, wait, why do I care what someone else thinks? Like, if I want to wear a pink tie-dye shirt because I think it's cool and I think I look good in it, what do I care what anyone else thinks?
Good in it?
Like,
yeah.
No, but you know, it just...
tie-dye shirts we have hanging.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a secret thing going on here.
Array of different shapes.
But it's super simple stuff, you know, and it was just like his enthusiasm at 45 years old about riding miniature dirt bikes. And I was like, but people are going to laugh at you. And he was just like, huh, I don't care. Like, you be miserable on the sidelines. I'm going to be on my pit bike having a blast. And then, so that was one thing that really stuck out to me of like, if you think it's cool, fucking do it.
Do you eat pizza?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah. Do you put pineapple on your pizza? No. It's a controversial thing in between a lot of people. I hate it. Jazz loves it.
So I don't like
pineapple. I like pizza.
I don't like it. I don't like pineapple on my pizza. I like pizza. I like pineapple. I don't think they taste good together.
Yeah.
I have nothing against it. If anyone else wants to,
yeah,
put whatever you want on your
barbecue?
pizza.
I can see you a barbecue based man, or you tomato based.
We do I think we do a little bit of everything. Sometimes we do like Alfredo. Sometimes we do pesto. Sometimes we do. Yeah, Sammy cooks up all types of stuff.
Yeah, nice.
Feeding the Frasers.
What is your go-to? What is your go-to Netflix? Do you Netflix? Oh wow.
So
yes, you do.
So I just watched. I think it's the best show I've ever seen.
And
Bad Blood.
Bad Blood.
Bad Blood. It's only 6 episodes, and they're like 45 minutes apiece.
Give them the line.
Here's the line.
Come on, give them the line.
So we started like we're just flipping through and like all right, and we turned on the first episode at like 11 p.m. We watch one episode. Sammy gets up, goes to bed, and I'm like, I'm in my off season. I'm gonna stay up late and watch Netflix.
Yeah.
Watch the whole thing. It was like 4 a.m. and I was like, okay, I can go to bed now. Yeah, I saved nothing for the next morning. You're like, dosed it out through the week. It's like, nope, 6 hours. Let's do this.
It's a gangster. Like,
So what was the line? I want to know this line. What's the line?
You gotta do it. You don't have to do it like full character, but it's a line.
So it's the whole show is about like the mafia in Montreal and like the kingpin about like his like crumble down to the bottom. But the one guy, like he betrayed the other guy. He's like, you did this to me? Can't believe it. And he's like, you hired a gangster and you're surprised I'm better at it than you? And I immediately, as soon as he said the line on the show, I was like, got up and started like pacing around the living room, just like, you hired a gangster? Just repeating it over and over, getting all hyped up.
Every time now, it's like, oh.
Like Sammy's like now like she'll be cooking in the kitchen and I'll like come up and lean over her shoulder. I'm like, you hired a gangster?
Are you surprised I'm better at it?
So now you have a quick snippet of what life is like in our household, of me just taunting Sammy in the kitchen, of getting hyped up.
At least you have a a cool one. Like they just.
I just reenact King Julian. Yeah, it's terrible.
He's just like, it's nothing personal. It's just that I'm better than you. It's like,
yeah, when he's in first class. So apparently he's in first class in the aeroplane, and the giraffe sticks his head through the first class. And he's like, get back. It's nothing personal. It's just that I'm better than you. And I just thought, fucking look, it stays with me forever. That's like my favourite movie quote.
No, have the crown. It's okay. I've got a big.
I've got the big.
Go on it.
Yes.
Better than ours. Yeah, it's a lemur.
Is it a lemur?
Yeah.
It's a lemur. Do you watch like anime?
apologize.
Not anime. What do you call it? Like Disney. Do you watch like? No, is it Disney?
Yeah.
Do you watch cartoon movies?
Yeah.
I think this.
I'm a big fan. I'm a sad big fan.
If it's on.
I think there's some that I'll watch, but like I'm not like a new Pixar movie comes out, I'm not going to the movie theater
I
for
am.
it.
Toy Story 4 is coming out.
Any gangster movie, I love gangster movies.
You love stuff like that.
But like the movie Lawless. Have you
Yeah.
seen that?
What?
I don't think so.
Which who is it?
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy and Shia LaBeouf. That movie Lawless, like that's how I want to live my life.
So they're immortals.
You need to watch the Conor McGregor documentary.
Oh, I have.
Oh, how good is that? Do you get?
Yeah.
That's what hypes me up, right? I get up off that and I'm like, you'll do nothing. I'm like walking around, like he'll do nothing.
The funniest thing is Kevin, the German guy in our apartment. We keep teaching him these phrases, and he's got this German.
He's got a
Irish
high-pitched
twang,
German.
going like, you'll do nothing. Walking around.
I would like take a second to apologize to absolutely fucking nobody.
I love it.
Like, I think that he is the one person that has managed to, like, have that much confidence without being
Arrogant.
seen as arrogant. Like, I think people just accept him for who he is. Like, I
Well,
don't know
so-
how he's done it. Like,
No, I think like in the early days, it wasn't perceived that way, and like
Yeah.
I think saying like the perception that he's not arrogant or cocky, I feel like that's far from the truth.
Yeah.
I feel like
you have to be a fighter though.
I think he has.
well, so I think he was like the first to do it, so it kind of took people off guard, you know. Yeah, like when I watched that documentary, it was like he was basically saying everything I've said to Sammy, or like all the stuff about like motivating yourself or like your attitude going into things. He just goes about it in a much different way.
Outward. You just have it inward. You're like,
yeah.
'Cause I said it to Jazz, but I'm like, yeah, you know, one day we'll hit 100,000 subscribers. One day we're going to hit 200,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
One day we're going to be the biggest YouTube channel. Like, I think you have to have that certain amount of confidence between you, but you don't have to sit there and be like, I'm going to do this, everyone, look at me, the world. You just sit there and
I don't
work
know how
and
he's
do
done
it.
it though, because like maybe saying that he isn't arrogant was the wrong way of phrasing it, but like he's
Charming.
He doesn't, like, I don't know why you don't mind that he's arrogant. It's weird. Like,
I-
there's some people you're like, oh god, he's so arrogant. Like you just kind of accept him for who he is with it. It's weird.
I think obviously a big thing that made it acceptable was the fact that he was backing it up. You know, like there was a period where it was just like he's going against the world champion, the guy who has like the most title defenses. And it was just like this like seasoned pro versus JV, where he's coming at him and he just steps back, hits him, knocked him out in
10 seconds.
And it was just like, all right, like this guy was the best, and then this new guy just came in and was just in a different league. Mm-hmm. Like you watch that fight and I'm sure you've seen the clip where he's in the warm up area, he's in his locker room, talking about like he mimics what the other guy's gonna do, and then he just stepped back to him, and it was like the first 12 seconds of the fight. It was like a couple jabs feeling it out, and then he just steps back.
Is that what you're like in CrossFit workouts? You know, like when you see games workouts and you're like, I know exactly how I'm gonna get through this. You know, like we've all seen the clips of you on the floor, like there's a guy in front of the cameraman and you're just in front of the timer and you're like, please sir, get out of the way.
I'm definitely not that polite in the heat of the moment.
Yeah. Do you have that, like you see workouts and you're like, do you practice them and do you go, yeah, this is how I'm going to split it up, I know how I'm going to attack this, you know, you've done this
100%.
for 4 years now and you're like,
yeah, like I feel like it's, I mean obviously it still happens that I get thrown a curveball or something takes me by surprise, but even when that happens, I feel like I know how to roll with the punches a little bit better. Of like, okay, I'm off my game plan. Let's make a new game plan on the roll.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, that's part of my training is practicing for those situations of, like, I'll do a workout in training and I know, okay, like I'm not doing this workout to get the best score possible.
Yeah.
I want to I want to hit this workout inappropriately. Like I want to hit this workout the wrong way with the wrong strategy and see how I can handle it.
Yeah.
You know?
So you know how it feels. You might just redline the first 2 minutes and then be like, right, I got to survive.
So I remember hearing a story of Silva, UFC fighter, that he was like the quiet Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
Like no one could. This guy's in the ring mocking people, and like he would be like doing funny shenanigans, and then just like bah, knock him out cold. And so he was just in this different league, and I remember hearing a story. I don't know if there's any truth to this, but I thought it was crazy. Was in training, so like even when he was half knocked out, he would still KO someone.
Yeah.
And it's like most guys are half knocked out in their days. They forget where they are, and then they get finished. And they were like, yeah, well, we practice for that in training. Like his ring man will sit there punching him in the head until he's a little bit dazed, and then he goes into the ring and practices his technique. And so I do the same thing of like I put myself into these bad situations and then learn how to come back from them in training. Yeah. And does it work? I don't know. Like
what workout of the games has taken you by surprise? What one have you gone in and gone, all right, and then just like been like, whoa.
Like recently?
Yeah. What happened with the clean and jerk ladder? That was the first time I've ever seen, you know, like when I see you walk into workouts, you look focused and you look like hyped, but not like you were like overhyped going into that almost. Like I saw him at the side and he was like,
because
rah, and I was like, ooh.
Well, so like you see the trend of CrossFitters over the last couple of years. It's like everyone wants to throw around the big weight. Everyone's so, you know, going into that workout, I'm sitting there, I'm counting, like, okay, like this guy has a 385 clean, this guy can power clean 390. So I knew the time I had to beat going into that workout. So going into the second heat. So first heat, you know, you just run through. It's just no one's failing those weights.
Yeah, just make it smooth and efficient.
Yeah. Don't trip, don't drop the bar, and go as fast as possible, and you're going to the next heat. So it was going into that second heat, I was petrified. Just like I'm like, all of these guys can outlift me. Yes, I'm the weightlifter, but I don't work on that anymore. You know, I've spent all my time and effort bringing up all these other deficits. So going into that, I'm like, okay, I know the time I need to beat, and it was like 58 seconds or a minute, give or take a couple seconds. And then in that heat, I think it was it Tim Paulson and Scott Panchek in my heat, I want to say.
Maybe. You got to the bar first.
So anyways, the two guys I'm expecting to win the event are in my heat. And so I'm like, I need to beat 58 seconds. And so I'm going through, and every time I would get to the bar, out of the side, I would see them at the bar as well. So I'm like, oh shit, like.
So you're not like full on laser focused in a workout. You know where everyone is.
So a workout like that, where my placement heavily depends on the people in my heat.
Yeah. I'm
paying attention then.
Yeah.
Like in those situations where it's like, all right, my results are determined by how you do as well.
Yeah.
So it was during that I'm thinking like, okay, if two other guys are right here with me, what are the odds that the 3 out of the 5 guys in this heat are going to be the 3 fastest times? The odds are stacked against me.
Yeah.
Ends up that was the situation.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it was just
because did you miss the jerk and then miss the clean? I can't remember which way around it was, but you missed it twice.
Yeah, so I wanted
it the third time.
I want to say I missed the jerk, and then I missed the clean, and then I made it. But so it was going into that, I think it was going into the third attempt of that 305. That's when I looked at the clock and realized, oh my God. So like when I watched the video, I had to beat 58 seconds. My hands were like on the bar at 31 or 32 seconds. I could have sat there for 20 seconds, caught my breath, done it, and still won that heat.
Yeah.
So it was just a lapse in judgment of seeing the other guys thinking, what are the odds that all 3 of us are beating the top time?
Yeah.
probably not. And so I just...
Stop recording. It's because it had hit the 29-minute mark. You might have to re-say that, though. I don't know why I said it.
And coming from someone like me as well, who can't even clean and jerk it. It's
No, I mean, that was one thing that, hearing all the commentating and people's comments after that, I'm like, I finished 7th in the event.
Yeah.
It's not like I flopped and got a dead last finish.
Yeah. Let's talk about the games this year. You know, the first couple of days, I was like, oh, you know, like a lot of people were like, oh, Matt Fraser's not leading by as much as he usually would. And then I would turn around to him myself and be like, look, I'm a big fan. So like, I mean, everyone knows from this, like they know from this. But I was like, look, it's not, this year wasn't like CrossFit for the first couple of days. Like, you're doing a run, you're doing a max out lift, so 30 muscle ups for time. Like, I'm like,
so the first 4 workouts, well, I mean, the CrossFit total is 3 lifts, but it's like, usually if you're the strongest at squatting, you're gonna be the strongest at pressing and deadlifting. You know, there's a strong correlation between. So basically, the first day was all single modality stuff, and like I go back and watch all the events and analyze my performance and everything, and I'm listening to the commentators of like, well, you know, Fraser doesn't have as big of a lead as he usually does. I'm like, we're in event 4.
yeah,
like. We're in event 4 and I'm at we're in day 2 and I'm up by 20 points.
yeah.
Like, what do you mean? I'm pretty sure last year I was ahead by 15 points going into day 2, you know? Like, it's, and I'm like, we haven't seen the couplets, the triplets, the chippers, you know?
The things that Matt Fraser is good at. Like, I always say that, get into the arena, and that's where the CrossFit comes out, and that's where you just...
Yeah, and like, I feel like I do a fairly good job of holding my own of, like, what did I get on the bike this year? Like 3rd or 4th, I think.
Oh, yeah, we heard a story about that. Yeah. How you were going to draft and then you got one lap round and you were like, oh, my legs really hurt. And then so the drafting just didn't pay off in the end.
Yeah, that was... but I mean, like, I'm a guy that I've been on a road bike on the road a handful of times and I was able to pull off a top 5 finish.
Yeah.
And then people are talking about like, oh, he doesn't have a good lead. I'm like, why would I have a good lead? Like, these are a marathon row. I'm 5'6".
Yeah.
I'm 5'6" and I didn't get dead last. Like,
how
I'm patting myself on the back. I think that's a pretty good job. And these guys up in the booth are ripping me apart.
What was it like, the marathon row, after you got off the marathon row? Like, honestly,
well, so
like, you probably put on a brave face.
I want to talk about in the middle of the marathon row. So that was just so much mental.
Yeah.
So much mental. So first off, going out on the floor, we had our little shopping baskets. We put whatever we wanted.
Did you put Sammy's home cooked meals?
I had 8 liters of water with me. 8 liters. And O'Keefe, who has my coach's band, is like trying to shove like 2 more in. I was like, dude, stop it. Like, what am I going to do with 8 liters of water? I already have like 8 times what I'm going to need.
Yeah.
I had over an hour left and I was done all my water. Like, I had already drank it all, and like I was thirsty. I was like, I'm going to pass out. I need more. And I was like, oh my, how did I drink 8 liters of water in this workout? This is crazy. In the row, you're going through these mental games of like, the first 2K, you're like, all right. After the first 2K is done, like that first number changes from a 4 to a 3, and you're like, all right, cool. You know, the first digit changed. And then you kept going, and then it was like, I had 17,000 meters left, and I was like, dude, I'm almost done. This is great. The first digit's a 1. The second digit isn't a 9.
Yeah.
I'm basically done. And then I started doing the math on it. I'm like adding up the numbers and like averaging the paces, and I'm like, oh my God, I have an hour and 20 minutes left.
Yeah.
Like, I just like had convinced myself, like, hang on, you're almost done.
Yeah.
And it's like,
sprint the finish.
I'm like,
I always shout at Jazz, sprint the finish, and I say sprint from about 500 meters.
Yeah.
She's like, I can't sprint 500 meters.
It's too long for me to sprint. Have you seen
But
the
it was-
legs?
it was, I think it was the last, just under an hour, I was cramping up. I was cramping every pull.
Yeah.
Like you know, like when you get like that hamstring cramp and you just like feel that bit of a flutter.
Yeah.
It was my quads, glutes, hamstrings, and forearms. Every stroke, it would like have that woo, and I was like,
I can go any second now. Yeah.
no, okay. And it was like that for a full hour of like thinking I was going to cramp the whole body was just going to.
What was it like afterwards? Out the back, was it chaos?
I mean, it wasn't like most events where it's like everyone goes into the back at the same time and just everyone. It's just a spew of bodies. People kind of trickled in, and I mean, it was a messy sight.
Did you feel it for the next couple of days, or kind of did you have that next day, and did you ultimately just do some great recovery, and then you were like, oh, actually, you know what, it wasn't as bad as
No,
I
I mean, we were sore, but it wasn't like a marathon. It's like you're hitting those joints. Your bones are taking a bit of a shift. It's like you're bearing your weight the entire marathon. Rowing, it was like your ass was sore just from where your bones are kind of pushing through your glutes, but you were sore, but you were okay.
Yeah.
Like you weren't going to do any damage by like doing a heavy lift the next day.
Yeah.
Like it'd be miserable, but so I mean it was just trying to recover what you can, and like you have zero appetite, but just like, okay, I need to eat a little bit. And
who do you hang out with at the games? Behind the scenes, are you one of those people that just goes in the corner and goes, this is my laser focus, or do you
I don't think Vellner or Fikowski and I were ever too far away from each other. We all of our cubbies lockers were close to each other. We're standing next to each other in the corrals, and we all get along. We all have similar sense of humor. So,
what's your biggest piece of advice for someone that's say in like my level, or a level where you're competitive, and say you're finishing, like for me, I finished, was it like 100th in our region like last year or something, and just wants to go to that next level? What changes? What do you think it is that drives you there?
I'm sure a big piece of it is that you're doing it for the right reason. You're doing it because you love it. You're passionate about it. So I mean, think about, like you said, like your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
You did a year, and you're like, I look back at the videos now, and it's like, they're awful.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And but you kept doing it. You kept getting better because you wanted to. You're passionate about it. So the fact that there wasn't money coming in from it, well, you weren't doing it for the money. You were doing it because you're passionate about it. And so you read a lot of these books of the people that are the best in the world at their trade, and that's the one common factor. 9 out of 10 of them, they still had their job that was paying the bills, and they were like, I would get home from my job at 5 p.m. I would eat dinner, and then from 6 until midnight, I was working on my passion.
Yeah.
So they're willing to dedicate that time and that effort, and they're wanting to make the product better because they want to make it better for themselves, not for Joe Schmo that's paying for it, you know?
Because I see a lot of people like run themselves into the ground. Like they see people training 5, 6, 7 times a day, and they're like, I've got to hit every single one super hard. Is that how you train? How many times a day do you train? Do you just say
a big determinant of that is what part of the season I'm in.
Yeah.
So there's parts of the season where I'm training all day, every day.
And do you enjoy CrossFit then? Sometimes, like, obviously it's for you now, it's your job, but also obviously it used to be your passion, or still is your passion. But just sometimes when you're deep in a season and you're killing it and all you're doing is training, do you sometimes go, phew?
Yeah, I know I want to say I don't think you can, but maybe there is someone that can. I don't want to speak for anyone else. I know for myself, I wouldn't be able to do this to the level I'm doing it without loving it.
Yeah.
Obviously there's other motivators that on a bad day, you have an external motivation that,
like an event at Dubai Fitness Championships that puts up 30 grand for the final event, and I just see him going into a pain cave, and I'm like,
yeah. I mean, there is stuff like that, but if that's what I needed the majority of the days, it wouldn't happen. That's maybe a 1 out of 10, 1 out of 20 day where I'm just like, dude, I just want to stay in bed. My hands are torn up. I'm tired. I'm sore. I couldn't do it to the level I'm doing it, to the dedication I'm doing it without loving it.
And without Sammy, probably. Behind every great man is a great woman.
This is true, They're the ones propping me up when I'm not strong enough to, so literally like in season, I'm up at 8 a.m. and breakfast is already on the table. And Sammy's, like, I hate eating breakfast. And Sammy's the one making me. No, you need to finish that,
What's your typical day in season coming up to the games? You wake up, how many times a day do you train? Is it just train, eat, sleep?
Yeah, that's literally the day.
Do you train a lot by yourself? Because now at the moment you're training with Tia?
Yeah, so I train with Tia now.
Is that fun?
Absolutely love it. You know, I was super hesitant.
Training by yourself before that?
Yeah.
Most of it?
Yeah, most of my training was by myself. If I did a workout with someone else, it was like they were company.
Yeah.
Like, they're very fit. Like a big crew at Champlain Valley. I think it was 2 years ago they qualified a team, but they were going with no intentions of making it to the games. They were just like, we're going for the experience of going to regionals. So like they're fit. So some of those guys will do a workout with me, but like at no point are they ahead of me in the workout. Like they're just doing it to keep me company. Yeah. And so I mean, they're an amazing group. So like going into the games, I'm training by myself, and these guys, they literally walk in the gym, they're like, yo, what are you about to do? And I'll like name off this grueling, miserable chipper, and they're like, give me 5 minutes, let me get my shoes.
Yeah.
And they're doing it just to keep me company. So amazing crew there. But yeah, most of the training was done by myself. And then it was this year I was in Vermont. All the changes happened with the CrossFit season, and I was just having a hard time getting started back into training by myself in the gym. And so I knew Tia was in Cookeville, and we've never really interacted. Like we didn't know each other. Like we've passed each other, but we've never hung out or talked. Yeah. Tracked down her phone number, called her up. I said, hey, this is Matt. Are you training right now? And she was like, yep. I was like, if I come back to Cookeville tomorrow, will you train with me? And she was like, yep. I was like, all right, cool. So that was on like a Saturday. We packed the truck on Sunday, and we drove 17 hours on Monday.
Sick.
And so literally I just called her up, and I was super nervous because I didn't know like her personality. I didn't know her training style of like she only does her training or if she's flexible or just I didn't know. And got down there, and it like couldn't have been a better match of like every day it's Tia, myself, and her husband Shane. Yeah. He's writing up the workouts, he's giving his opinions on stuff, and we just hang out, we mesh well. And
does she beat you in some workouts?
Oh yeah. Obviously. Yeah, she's an incredibly fit human being. Yeah.
I'm excited to see her throw down this weekend.
Yeah.
Last question, what do you think about these new changes? Obviously it's been great for you so far because you went into Dubai, you went in, you won the event, you've already qualified for the games now, so kind of the pressure's off in a way, but also if you do well in the Open it helps with some of your placings at the games or whatever. What do you think of the new setup? Do you like it?
I like the opportunity it's presenting. Before it was really stressful during the Open if you got sick. Yeah. Like if you have one bad workout, you're out. Going into regionals, if you're in week 1 and you get the flu, or twist your ankle, you're out. And it's like you want it to be like, let me compete in week 3. Like I'll be healthy then. I'll do all the same workouts, everything. Like I just happen to be sick. So I really like that it takes that out of it. So like if things didn't go well in Dubai, and like I had this conversation with O'Keefe of, hey, if things don't go well in Dubai, where am I going next? Yeah. Like, so you have more opportunities, and we had 5 competitions lined up of, if Dubai doesn't go the way I'm hoping it goes, then I'm going to this one. If that one doesn't go, then I'm going to this one. So we had 5 competitions lined up as second, third, fourth options. So I like that opportunity.
And do you feel more relaxed now? You're like, I've got my place. So
I'm taking my off season now of just traveling around, coming to stuff like this. If I were in season, I would never show up to a competition just to hang out. I think there's some kinks to be worked out, and they already are. No one saw the problem coming until it happened, and so then they adapt, react, and make the fixes. Kind of like if there's 16 competitions, well, now you need to do 16 qualifiers to go into it. Sucks. So basically you're doing the Open year round to qualify for these events. And so I know a lot of the competitions have kind of synced up, and it's like, okay, if you qualified for that competition, I'll recognize it in my competition. And so those little hiccups are already being corrected. So I'm excited to see it like next year.
And the games format this year sounds different too, which is going to be kind of crazy.
I don't know, have they released the games format?
No, but they're saying that like there'll be, because obviously if it's the national champions and everything, there'll be a lot of people there, and then they're going to whittle it down to 10 for the last weekend. Apparently.
So
I don't know.
I mean, it's all stuff like that. It's like they've
You're gonna win it anyway. So
no, it's not that. It's like they haven't released anything official, so it's like I don't even want to hear someone's.
Just keep training, keep your head down, and just.
Still just speculation at the
keep
moment,
doing you.
isn't it?
I mean, opinions don't matter. No one's opinion means anything.
Yeah.
It's just an opinion.
Yeah.
It's like when they come out with a fact, a rule book, and this is what's happening, that's when I'll dedicate energy to it and figure out my game plan towards it. But
to finish off, what's next for Matt Fraser? What's next?
In terms of what?
Do you want? Are you aiming to just keep going year on year on year? You want to win this year? You want to go next year? You just want to keep going until your body says, you know what, actually, I don't want to do this anymore? Or
yeah, I've said from very early on in my career, as long as I'm healthy and happy, I'll keep going, and so I feel great.
Yeah.
Having the best time doing it.
Yeah.
So I'll keep competing, but like I don't have a timeline put in place of like, all right, only this many more, like I want at least this, like, no.
Just do you, and when you don't enjoy it anymore, that's it.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what I love.
Become a YouTuber.
Yeah, become a YouTuber. Yeah. Just blow us completely out of the water.
Matt, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. Yeah, it's great hanging out.
It was really fun. It's going to be like an hour and a half.
Thanks, Sammy. I'm sorry we're late.
Yeah, no, it's okay.